My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back, everybody. Eli Delaney here with Meet Cool People, and today I am honored to have an amazing guest. This is going to be a fun one. This is going to be a really entertaining one, not just for me, but for everybody, because the fact that I get to play devil's advocate in this kind of situation. Let me tell you a little about today's guest. Rachael Garnett. She and I have actually gotten to meet each other, hang out, get to be good friends. We work together in a couple different aspects, and she is the AI whisperer. She is an AI certified consultant, the LinkedIn cat lady, an AI speaker, and a 3-time international best-selling co-author, and an incurable optimist. She is the co-founder of Eaas AI. And she specializes in helping nonprofits and small businesses harness the power of AI beyond just a few cool prompts like GPT has. And I get to have some fun with it today. So with that said, Rachael, thanks for coming and hanging out with me today.
Okay, I'm so excited to be here with you. This is so much fun.
This is going to be a lot of fun. And I kind of set it up for you, but here's the thing. And you already know this. You knew I was going to do this for you, but I tend to get to play devil's advocate a lot because you and I know that I've seen the Terminator movies and I'm still very sketchy on all the AI stuff that's going on out there.
Sure.
So with that said, we're going to have some fun with this, but you've already impressed me with the conversations we've had. We've gotten to work together in a couple of different aspects, and that's why I wanted to bring you on the show today. So everyone is an AI expert these days. And some of these guys that I have known for years, all of a sudden they went from, internet marketing to crypto to now they're AI gurus and all that kind of stuff. But you come at it from a very different aspect, and you've got a little bit of a different history on this. What is it that, instead of just jumping on the bandwagon as the shiny object like everybody else did, what is it that makes you different when it comes to the AI process? And what was your journey? Like, tell us a little bit about how you got started in this.
Okay. So I actually got started in AI by creating AI assisted art. I had, a little over 3 years ago, a friend of mine was posting these incredible images on Facebook. And so I said, Patrick, what are you doing? And he said, oh, there is this new AI image generator called Midjourney. And so this was sort of pre-beta, and I was just so fortunate to be able to get on really early. I was also using something called Night Cafe, and I just became really obsessed with how to use words to create the images that I want. And it is very much a skill, as we know, using AI and learning how to prompt. And I had the opportunity to be on a webinar with an artist. I don't remember his name. And one of the things that he said is pick one subject so you don't have to worry about what the content is, and learn how to do absolutely every single thing that you can with it. So, of course, within Midjourney, my subject was cats because I am the cat lady. And I just used Midjourney to just create so many different kinds of cats. Yes, using, prompts with other artists like Tim Burton style cats, all of those sorts of things. And then through that process over the past couple years, I just ended up creating my own style. So I have very specific cat characters that I can use, that I can replicate, and backgrounds, etc. So that's how I started. Now I have a background in nonprofit fundraising and grant writing. And so when chat came out in 2022, it absolutely saved me. I was drowning in things to do at work. And so I started using ChatGPT to help me do a little bit of grant research, although it wasn't online at the time, and writing boilerplates and helping me to write grants. I used it for newsletters, for donor communications, event planning, just a whole plethora of things. And from the art that I was creating, I was able to sort of use those skills to start to be able to prompt better without any education, but knowing kind of how to put some words together to get some pretty good output. And it just kind of is just snowballed from there. I was at a mastermind in Las Vegas about a year and a half ago. And when I was in the mastermind, I met my AI mentor, Jeff Hunter, and Jeff had created the very first certified AI consultant program globally. So I remember calling my husband, Matthew, and saying, oh my gosh, because we had already started this business, saying, oh my gosh, we can make a business helping people use AI to save them time and overwhelm and build capacity in their businesses. And I was so excited to be able to have something that I could do that I love, helping people. And so that's kind of how it started. I went through Jeff's certification program. I've been certified for about a little over a year, and just continuing to learning through that program and other programs every day.
Nice. And I love it. And when you and I met, you weren't really doing the AI stuff. You were doing more just software as a service. That was literally what your business was all about, was helping people set up all the various tech pieces. And seeing this journey that you've come on has been pretty phenomenal. Cause like I said, there's so many people that are jumping on the AI bandwagon, but I've watched you do it in a very, very different way. So let's fast forward to today. Now that you've really, got your stuff together on what you're doing and helping people with this AI world, you work with a lot of small businesses. Mm-hmm. What is a client, what are some of the things that they're struggling with from a small business that they need help with that you're helping them with?
So a lot of our clients are struggling with the same things that you and I struggle with. They want to save time and money. They, have no idea how to do that. A lot of my clients are currently using AI, or they've tried using it, but they're just not getting the results that they want. Other clients I have are just so overwhelmed with just the thousands of AI tools on the market. They don't know which ones to use. And they're confused how to write copy. They're confused how to write prompts. They don't know how to use the AI to help them build that capacity that they want. Trying to think. Some of my other clients come to me because they're short on time. There's sort of a steep learning curve when you're really getting into AI, and then they just end up giving up. And I know there are a lot of courses or YouTubes and, YouTube videos and things online. But a lot of times, we need someone to work with us one-on-one to teach us how it works. And, it's difficult, I think, a lot of times to find a mentor who can actually, get results for their clients. And that's what I try to do.
Nice. I love it. And you've done a good job of helping people buy back their time, which is something I'm a very big advocate for. Anybody who knows me knows that that's part of, what I really stand for. But you're helping people get back to where they couldn't afford somebody to help them out, or they've been burned by working with agencies and stuff like that. A story that you've actually told me about that I'd love for you to kind of share was the med spa, because that is one that we were talking about, and the story that you had with that was pretty phenomenal. I'd love for you to kind of share a little bit of that story.
Oh, of course. So, about a year ago, my very first client, Missy Fulgencio, owns a med spa called Picture Perfect Med Spa. And she came to me. She's had her med spa for several years, but during COVID, the clientele, business went down. And so she pivoted from, doing her med spa full time with, a lot of estheticians and nurses, to working a full-time job at the DFW airport and doing the med spa on the side in the evenings and on the weekends. And she was just so overwhelmed with all of the marketing, all of the writing, the newsletters, the TikTok videos, the script writing. And so she came to me. She had used ChatGPT just a little bit, and we identified a few tasks that AI could take over for her. And those ended up being that content generation and the marketing. We used a bunch of her data and information to create what I call an AI persona, but to create a persona or this virtual AI employee that would help her write all of this incredible content in her voice and create the newsletters for her. And so Missy and I are very good friends. We talk all the time. And so actually in January, she was able to leave that other full-time job because her business is picked up at the med spa. And she really attributes that to all of the incredible marketing that she's been able to do with the AI and the time saved. So she could spend a lot more time building those relationships with her clients or potential clients and networking and being out in the community. So it's that one, that client story is very near and dear to me because Missy and I are friends, and I've seen how much it's helped her and really transformed her life, in the past 8 or 9 months.
I love it. And it's great because, like, for me, I come back from when automation was a brand new thing. I mean, think about that. Like, when I got into the automation side, that was what, 2007, 2008-ish is when I got into that side of stuff. And I realized that back then everybody used to like talk about automation. It's going to take away the human effect or the human factor to it. And for a long time, that was the argument that I had. And now we have it here. But back then I was also, working off of the leverage of we as a solopreneur don't have the time to do everything. And I think the evolution with AI, like I said, I'm still skeptical in a lot of areas, but you've been one that's helped me and seeing the stuff that's happening right now. We look at the evolution of small business, especially for solopreneurs. Okay. Back then we had like automation was the first step. The second step was hiring maybe a virtual assistant because we couldn't afford an actual on-site employee. And nowadays, both of those things are commonplace. Like, we've all had VAs, we've all had automation, CRMs, all that kind of stuff for years now. And AI has become that next piece of it. And your story of her being able to leverage her time and get all those things done that she can't afford to hire somebody to do, that's helped her get back into, getting her job full time or her business full time instead of having to work to fund the business, right?
Oh, absolutely. And Misty had a similar experience, I believe, that I had. She was a little untrusting of, marketing agencies. And when I first started this business, I had hired a marketing agency. I think it was $2,600 a month that I didn't really have starting the business. It was new. But the content that they wrote, I was always unhappy with it. It didn't sound like me. It didn't have the feeling that I wanted it to have. And so what I found through this AI persona method that I do, that I was able to, create these sort of virtual AI employees that I say sound like me, but they actually probably sound a lot better than me. They sound the way that I want them to sound. And oh my gosh, more than a fraction of the cost, and also a lot of time saved. They've got that back and forth with the marketing company, and I don't have that any longer. So it's just been super helpful.
Nice. And before we move on, I want to, you brought up something that I think is really entertaining is you talk about being able to have somebody that you weren't the back and forth with with this marketing agency. You might still have that back and forth with AI as you're teaching it and all those things, which you do a great job of helping people set that up, to train it to be like them, to sound like them, to act like them. I would push back and say, maybe if it's sounding better than you need to tell it to back off a little bit because you still want it to sound like you, right? But here's something that I saw somebody else post this, and I thought it was kind of an interesting way to look at it, is because you said this at the AI employee, right? How much does an employee cost? Even if you're having a virtual assistant, say 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week, you're still going to pay a couple $100 a month, even if it's the most cheap VA you can find. It's still going to probably be a couple $100 a month. Yet ChatGPT is $20 a month, right?
That's right.
And I even saw somebody is like, they're doing the more expensive version of Chat GPT, so the 200 a month. And you're
Uh-huh.
looking at that and you're just like, okay, but if you're really using it properly, that is still cheaper than any potential staff, VA, any of that kind of stuff you could get, which is one of the things that is very appealing for people because of the fact, especially small business solopreneurs, things like what we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about here, that they don't necessarily have that budget. Like you were talking about $2,700 a month. You didn't really have it, but you're paying for it because you thought you needed it, which you did
Mm-hmm.
need it, but
Mm-hmm.
you needed it to be better. And the great thing about it is if you do it right, one thing that I was just thinking about as you were telling that story is you don't also have to worry about that back and forth and time frames. And you send them something and you're waiting for them to reply. You
Yes.
send something to chat, it's going to reply back immediately or within a few seconds
Yes.
anyway. So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of stuff like that that I think that people don't really think about. Now, I want to touch base because you've brought it up a couple of times. You come at it from a very different angle than most people. Like I said at the beginning, so many people really focus on the, oh, here's the perfect prompt or here's the prompt formula and all that kind of stuff. But you have what you call the AI persona method.
I
And that
do.
is something that I have not seen anybody else use. You and I have talked about this. I would love to hear you explain, what is that?
So the AI persona method is just a very specific sort of managed method to create these AI personas or these virtual AI employees. And so really kind of the core of it is that, I help people identify a specific role of the persona. So it could be a project manager or a social media manager, anything like that. So we first identify the specific role. One of the reasons that it's important to identify the specific role first is it's almost like if you hire an employee, let's say that I hire a social media manager, they already know how to do that job. So they already know what their role is. But then when they come to me in my company, then we start to build out their specialization within, for example, within Eaas AI. So we give the persona a role, that employee a role. Then we start to build out its specialization. What are the tasks that it's going to do for me? And I always say AI it's not super smart. So you don't want to give it a whole bunch of tasks. Just like people, AI is not great at multitasking. I am not a great multitasker. So, one of the reasons that I suggest creating a bunch of different personas is we can give it one task or a couple tasks to do that it can do really great. The next thing we do is we craft its personality. And that personality could be, my personality, dependent upon what it's doing. Let's say I work with a lot of nonprofits. So, an example, let's say that we're crafting an AI persona personality for the education department. That personality is going to be a little bit different than a persona that we create for the fundraising department. So you want that personality to have a few different traits. Then we educate the persona on our company and our brand. And the awesome thing is that if you don't have a brand, you don't have a brand voice, you don't have brand colors, we can create one with AI. One of the really, really important things after we do that, so we educate the persona on your company. We educate it on who the audience is. And again, you could have different audiences depending on, which department you are working with in your company, but you want to pinpoint the audience, you want to pinpoint their pain points and their desires. You want to give the AI the services that you offer. And in addition to kind of that list of services, how are your services helping your audience? That's also very important. And then one thing that people skip and that is vital is checking the understanding of the persona. When you put that information and you ask it, based on what you know about me, how can you help? And when you start to check that understanding, that's when you can start to refine and see if it's really getting it or it's not and start to correct it. From there, you use some smart prompts to start to refine output. You sort fine tune that, and then you get to start using the personas to help you do whatever you need, make money, save time, build capacity. spend more time doing what you want to do. And that's how we launch.
Awesome. Love it. Very, very cool. I love that you've got it down to a science of really building that out in that entire process for somebody. And, I was actually looking at some of the stuff with you and where your process is, which I'd like for you to kind of go through. And in a minute, I'll ask you more about this of what is it like if somebody says, okay, Rachel, I need your help. What does that journey look like from that standpoint? But you specialize in not just helping small businesses, but you also specialize in helping nonprofits. And I know you have a background in that. Kind of tell us a little bit about your background, and then what is it that you've been able to do to help the nonprofit world use AI? Because that's one thing they're always looking at. How can we get more done without a lot of extra expenses? Because sometimes they don't have the budget, right? So
Sure.
where's your background in that nonprofit?
So my nonprofit background, it spans way more than a decade, but I say I have about a decade of experience in nonprofits. There were some spaces in between there, but mostly my background is in fundraising. So extensive grant writing, communications with donors, those sorts of things, event planning, really a lot of the things on the side, that fundraising side. But in addition to that, because I've worked for small nonprofits and have had to wear almost every hat, I have a pretty big background in nonprofit operations. I mean, from bookkeeping to policies and procedures, employee manuals, writing brand guidelines, HR, of all the things. So I know that nonprofits, and I think other small businesses do also, so I don't just want to leave the small businesses out, but nonprofits, a lot of times they struggle with having enough staff to be able to do all of the things that they need. And so I think that's really where my experience comes in, because I have that experiences, and I know so much of the pain that the nonprofits have within their smaller departments. And so they're just having to do so much more with so much less. There are so many, I'm not sure, there's so many mission-based organizations, but so many more people need services. And, we're working with less money, we're working with less staff. And so that's where AI, I think, really comes in to help.
I love it. So, and I know one of your clients, James L. West, you've talked about,
Yes.
you talk about them all the time. So that's why I'm going to bring them up. Yeah. Tell us, give us a little bit of a story of a couple of things that you've done specifically with them, so people can get an idea of here's what's possible.
Okay. So I do want to say James L. West is one of my long-term clients. I love them so much. And when Kathy Nice Brown came to me, one of the things that she said is, I want to equip my staff to be able to work smarter and not harder. I know that AI is not going anywhere. We need to know how to use it. And then the other thing she said to me, which I thought was fabulous, is that when my staff member leaves, I want them to be equipped with this AI knowledge so that they can take that with them. And I thought, I love this woman. She is really thinking of her staff, like thinking, beyond, just beyond the organization and herself. So with James L. West, we went through the discovery. And we determined that the best first use case would be we didn't just create a persona. I also built a custom GPT within ChatGPT, whose base is the persona. The persona is the base of everything, by the way, but the base is the persona. And then in that GPT, we feed it with all of the data and all of the instructions of the things that it needs to do. But we named that persona Eunice. I love that because my personas don't have creative names. Mine is social media manager, project manager. So there's this Eunice, and Eunice was the woman that in 1993 actually founded James L. West from her husband's memory. He had suffered from Alzheimer's. And we started using Eunice for the education department. So James L. West has just a vast amount of free education for professional dementia caretakers, and then also family caretakers of loved ones with dementia. There's the most incredible programming. They're really a leader nationally in this type of dementia care education. And they wanted to build their capacity to be able to create more programs faster. So the first thing that we started utilizing, or they started utilizing Eunice for, was creating more educational programs. And they increased their capacity by about 40 to 50%. So being able to get a lot more education programs out there, create a professional learning management system, where we use the AI to help do a lot of scripting for these professional trainings. And that's where we started. And I say that because I think it's important when people are starting to use AI to start with one use case, one task, to get really comfortable with it and have some small wins. And so that's what we did there. From there, we branched out. They have another free program, or James L. West has another program called Cerebro Sano. That's brain health in Spanish. And it is a free community outreach program for all of the Spanish-speaking family caretakers of loved ones, throughout North Texas, Tarrant County, Fort Worth. And it's incredible. And that has been one of my favorite things, because I've been able to go and meet some of the participants within that Spanish language program and see just the benefits that it has in teaching people, what their loved ones are going through, how to better care for their loved ones, and also, really importantly, how to care for themselves.
I love it. That is an awesome, awesome story. And I could tell your passion behind it, because you talk about it. And I love, the one thing that I have found, a lot of people that are really using AI start naming their chatbots, whichever language you want to use with it. And, it's kind of fun that people have started doing that in an aspect of they're giving it its own role like an employee, which is great, because now you've got that separation. I think that you explained that really well when you were talking about the persona method, on how you're creating these separate entities that they have a very specific role. That way they're not just like human beings. So many people, when people jumped into the AI or in the virtual assistant world, they wanted that superhero VA that could do everything. And most of the time they just don't do a very good job, because not everybody is an expert at everything. And
correct.
I love the way you're doing the same thing in AI. You're basically putting it into, okay, here's your role. Here's what you're great at. Let's train you to be that, and specializing in this one thing masterfully, which is great.
And also, when James L. West, Kathy describes Eunice as a valued team member. When they are in team meetings, they talk about Eunice just like she's on their team. I mean, they really, that is how valuable this GPT is to them in terms of helping them do their work. And so of course, I love that. And it's really exciting.
That is fun. And it's a good way to kind of make it fun. It really is. Yeah. So let's say somebody's listening to this. If somebody were to come to you and say, okay, Rachael, I need your help, what is that next step? What does that look like to work with you?
The next step is we set up a discovery call, and I find out where people are in their AI journey. So, which AIs they're using, how comfortable they are. And then we sort of go through the tasks that they want to take off of their plate. And again, we'll start with something simple. We'll start with one persona. That first, we do, a 30-minute discovery call. That first meeting is about 90 minutes. Sometimes it might run over a little bit, because I am a talker. And we determine that role. And so I actually, I've got a Google form that I share with people so that they have that form as a model for all of the personas that they want to create. But we walk through during that 90-minute call, creating that persona. Sometimes we can create two. And then we will get lots of output from that first call. So that first call immediately has value to them. And I've even had some clients who, don't push the send button or the post button on social media. So from the social media content, we'll go ahead and schedule it on the call so they have it. And so that's really the process. And depending on the package that our clients get, I keep people up to date on the changes with AI. I really love building a custom GPT for them based off of the persona because it can do a little bit more. It has, they don't have to type as much stuff in. It's got that specific job and a lot more instructions than we're putting into just that basic persona. Now, I have a lot of clients who will just get that persona form or that sheet that we fill out and just put it into the chat or into the thread. You don't have to have a GPT to use it. But that's what we do. And we do, I'm always available via text or an email for that first 90 days. And then, we just look at it again to see if they still need more help or if we want to continue that contract.
Nice. I love it. And it's very straightforward. The great thing is by the time they get off the call, they have something done. And that's something that
yes.
you and I work together. That's kind of an important thing for me too. So I love it.
Yes.
You brought up something that actually, when you were talking and describing that, there's a couple of questions that I had up. Number one question people have when it comes to AI is, you mentioned GPT, so Chat GPT. But there's so many other ones out there. We all get overwhelmed on which platform should we use and which model and all that kind of stuff. Now, I don't want to go down a huge rabbit hole with this because I know it is one, but give us kind of just a quick, 30 to 60 seconds of where should people be starting and what are the basic differences amongst a couple of the top AI, platforms that are out there. Sure.
People should start with what they are already using, what they're comfortable with. Most people have heard of ChatGPT. I like ChatGPT for my clients that have small teams because when we create those GPTs or those custom solutions, those can be shared out with the entire team. Now, one of the things that I also do with my clients when we're on that first call is that we will put that persona into ChatGPT. We put it into Claude AI, which is, it's built to write. It's an incredible writer. Sometimes we'll put it into Google Gemini and we really see what output they like the best. And that's another thing. It doesn't have to be a specific AI. What is it that you personally like the best? So that's sort of the first thing. Some of my clients who are like me, who are solopreneurs, we can create projects in Claude for them. Again, I don't use that with my small teams because they can't share that. And then we also look at other things that they need to do. So if we've got clients who do a lot of PowerPoint presentations, maybe we want to look at Gamma. I'm also, and I think you are too, just a huge proponent of the AI note takers. I can take the AI summary or an AI transcript. I can summarize it. I can ask AI to tell me all the things that I forgot to do, that I need to do. But I can also take something like that and put it into Gamma, which creates these great presentations and create a presentation that, would normally take me 2 or 3 days. I can get done in a couple hours. So it just depends on what they need. I do have a lot of people who come to me wanting to learn how to create images. And I think now that ChatGPT creates images, I think it does a fairly good job. Meta AI is another one that does a really great, I think does a great job of creating images and really, really short animations. But again, it's what does the client feel comfortable with? What are their needs and what sounds the best to them? What resonates the most?
Right. And that's one of those things. It's kind of like when people ask me, what's the best CRM? And my answer is always the one you use.
It's the one you use. Yes.
Yeah. So, as long as you're going to use it, that's the most important one. Like for me, Claude is where I spend more time because I'm a writer and I want that
Sure.
language perfection that's in there. It does better at helping create those kind of pieces than other platforms tend to for me.
Of course.
But it really, I've seen people that they'll use just GPT because that's what they're most comfortable with and they do great with it. I've seen people who, go off the board. Some people are only going to do Gemini because it's integrated with their Google workspaces.
Sure.
So I do think that it's a really good answer that you had of it really depends on what you want and what gives you the best results because they're all going to be different.
They're all going to be
And
different. And also, you don't have to have a paid account for everyone. So I do a lot of what I call AI stacking. So, I'll have, Claude do something, and then I'll put that output from Claude into Chat GPT because they're good at different things. And so maybe I put it into Chat GPT for strategy and then back into Claude to write the content. I'm a really big proponent of, I love Gemini for deep research. They're all good at it, but Gemini is my favorite. But, I might in, a specific output, I might use two or three or four different AIs to create the output in the way that and organize it in the way that I want. But again, a lot of it is like, what are you going to use? How much do you feel comfortable spending if you're wanting to get these paid accounts, or, can we use the free account? So I don't want to, I don't push, I don't want people to spend more money than they need to. I want for
right.
them to get the really great output, but I'm not pushing any specific or all of the things that I use.
Got it. Well, that is, I mean, that's a really valid point to bring up because there's so any more AI tends to be kind of like streaming services, what used to be cable services, where you start with one and then you got two and then you got 10 and,
Oh my gosh, yes.
keeps adding up. And next thing you know, you're like, why am I broke? Well, I'm paying for all these different things. So
Yes.
definitely, I love your outlook on this. If number one, figure out what is it that you need that's going to work the best for you. And then see if this one works best for these things, maybe I use the paid version because I need that next level. But this thing over here, just use the free one. And I'm a good example of that. Like for me, I do pay for Claude. I do not pay for ChatGPT right now.
Mm-hmm.
That may change soon. You and I may sit down, have a good conversation, and I may end up going, all right, fine, sign me up. But that is a big thing that people should be aware of is like, does the tool do what you need from the free version before you run down the rabbit hole of actually paying for it? Because you might find
Absolutely.
so, and I love your
Absolutely.
outtake on that as well. Awesome. Okay. So any last things that you think people should know about or think about as they're jumping into this whole AI world?
I mean, I think when people are jumping into the AI world, have so much fun. Don't worry, you can't do anything wrong. You're not going to break it when you hit the enter key. And just experiment. Have fun with it. Also know AI is by no means perfect. It's just it's still, today is the worst that it will be going forward. It's always improving, it's always changing. So, another piece of advice that I have is, as best as you can, keep up with the changes. I know everybody has their own jobs. Like my job is to keep up with AI. But I would say once you kind of get into it, don't stagnate. Make sure that you're looking at that persona, you're looking at your outputs, you're refining the prompts that you're using, saving those. And again, for those people who are just starting, just start small. Start with one task so that you can feel comfortable and you can see how fast it works and you can see, the output that it gets. And also education is so important. When chat came out, it was so easy because it was free. And we just felt like because we could type something in that we know how to use it. And I don't want for people to be using the AIs and getting just like yucky generic output. I want them to get incredible output that they're proud of. AIs really can get us 80 to 90% there. It's not going to get us all the way. So another thing that I do tell my clients is once you get that output, I always save everything in a Google Doc, make my changes, then upload it, wherever it needs to go. But you always need to read it and look at it. And it makes things up. If it gives you citations, by all means, check the citations. Just because it gave you a citation doesn't mean it's real, or what it says is in that article is in it, because I've seen that not be. So I think one of the things I love the most about AI is the human aspect, and that I can human more, but AI is just no good without us. Like humans, we're fantastic. We're the creative force. And so make sure that you're always humaning when you're using AI.
I love it. That is awesome. Okay, so we are getting close to the top of the time here. I got 2 final questions for you. The last one's going to be the easy one, and that's where you have something cool to give to everybody. So we'll let you share that in just a second. But this is the Meet Cool People show, and I always ask every one of my guests this. I think I forgot to do it one time on one of these interviews. But what do the words Meet Cool People mean to you?
Meet cool people means to me meeting people like you, who I think is one of the most awesome people that I know. Meeting cool people is meeting the plethora of people that are much smarter and creative than I am, and being able to bounce off ideas and have fun. And so those are the cool people that I love.
And just for the record, everybody, I did not pay her to say nice things about me. So just so you know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I love that. Okay, so now you have something cool that you want to be able to give to everybody. And I think it's going to help everybody who's just kind of starting out. They've listened to this and go, okay, wait a minute. Maybe I need to step up my game here. Tell us a little bit about what you've got.
So I created something. It's called the top 10 AI personas that every business needs. And these are just the top 10 personas that you need to get started. And I think it really helps to explain what the personas are and what they can do for your business. So you can find it at lp.eaaservice.com/top 10. So again, this is a list of the top 10 AI personas that every business needs. And if you download this, if you have any questions, of course, let me know. But again, the link is lp.eaaservice.com/top TOP10, the number 10.
Awesome. I love it. And we will definitely put that in the show notes. Just for the record, so everybody knows this, I have seen this. I've seen the stuff she put together in here, and it's pretty cool. It is one of those things that'll be like, oh, I didn't think about having AI help me with that thing. And so, yeah, I highly recommend you download it, check it out. And then, once you go through it, you go, okay, this is awesome. I see these 3 personas that I need right away. Book a call with Rachel, get on her calendar, talk to her, see which, have her help you with some of this stuff, get an idea of what it is to work with her, and she can help you actually build this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. It has been a pleasure to have you on here. And I don't think I beat you up too much. I think I did pretty good.
No, you were
on you too much.
Eli, you were very kind. And just for your audience, when Eli and I met, he gave me a very hard time about AI, and I loved it because nobody else did. So being able to have that back and forth conversation was really great. Learning, talking about why I think it's so fabulous and why he should have been using it.
Yep. And it's been good. And she's convinced me in several different areas. So it's been good, which is why I wanted to bring her out today. So Rachel, thank you so much for coming and hanging out today. This was a fun conversation.
Thank you so much, Eli. And anytime you see cats online, they could be mine.
Very much so.
LinkedIn awesome. Cat lady. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, definitely get out there, connect with Rachel, get her freebie, go grab that top 10 list, because that's going to help you out. And with that said, get out there, have an amazing, amazing week. If there's anything I can do to help you out, reach out and let me know anytime. Take care. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. If you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to followuprockstar.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to followuprockstar.com and we'll see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rockstar.